Okay, we're going to walk through some solving systems of equations problems that involve graphing. Now, luckily, these are all in slope-intercept form, so we can use pretty much the same strategy for every one of these problems to solve them. So let's start out with number one here. All right, our first problem here, our first equation we have to graph is y equals negative 1 half x plus 1. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start my y-intercept. 1, excellent. Now my slope here is negative, so that means my line needs to be going down in this direction. If I end up graphing a line that goes upwards like this, I know I did something wrong. So let's go through this. Now it says negative 1 over 2. That means I'm going to be going down 1 and then over 2 to get to my next point. It's always a good idea to do that as many times as you can, so we can get a nice good line out of it. Down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. I can also go in the other direction by going up 1 and, oops, did not want to do that. That's okay. Going up 1 and then over 2 in this direction. Now, if you notice, it still keeps our line going in the same direction. That's the goal here. And then we can get a nice solid line out of it. I'm just going to get rid of these little loops here. And the thing I like is when I'm looking at this line, I'm noticing, whoa, that was awful. I can do that again. Oh boy. All right, third time's the charm, right? There we go, excellent. So what I like about looking at this line here, it's going down. That's what I want to see. If it's negative, it needs to be going down like that. If it isn't, then I did something wrong. All right, now for my next one, I'll do this one in red. Slope-intercept, y-intercept, excuse me, is going to be 6. I'm going to graph right here. Now for my slope, it's 1 over 3, which means I'm going to go from this point. I'm going to go up 1 and over 3. And up 1 and over 3. I can also go in the opposite direction by going down 1 and then over 3. And you notice it keeps my line going the same way. And what I like here is if I keep doing that, go down 1 over 3, I get my solution right here. That's ultimately what we want. When we're solving a system of equations and we're graphing, we want to see them cross. Sometimes they won't have a solution, don't get me wrong, but more often than not, you should be getting some point where they cross. And that's right here. So my solution for this is going to be negative 6, positive 4. So those are a few things to watch out for. Watch out for negative slopes, making sure that your lines are going in that negative direction, and then looking out for that solution. I'll try another one that seemed to give people some trouble. Number 3 here. This is one where people struggled a little bit. So we'll start out with our first one. Again, we'll go in blue. My y-intercept is negative 4, so I'm going to start here. Again, let's see. I don't have a slope here, but I can always put a 1 here, which means my slope is going to be up 1 and over 1, just like so. I'm just going to keep doing that. Some people might think this is a lot of work, but ultimately it's going to really help us when we're trying to graph that solution. So I'm going to graph that in blue. All right. Now for the red one. This is, again, another mistake I saw. We don't have anything here for y-intercept. But what I can always write in, if I don't have anything, I can do plus 0. It's not going to change anything. It also gives me that y-intercept right here at 0. And then for my slope here, I just go up 1. Over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and wow, right there where my solution is. It's good if I get a few more points in, so I'm going to go in the opposite direction now. Go down 1, and then over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice it doesn't change the direction of my line. I'm going to graph my line, and luckily I got a solution right here, which gives me 5, positive 1. So that was another one I noticed some people make mistakes on, so you want to watch out for those. And let's see, another common one, number 5. I'll walk you through number 5 right now. On first glance, some people might think these look very similar, but they're not. We'll start out with this one here. Now my y-intercept, positive 4. So I'm going to go right here. My slope, I'm going to put a 1 here. That means I go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. And then to keep it going the opposite way, I can just go down 1, over 1. And you notice the key is you want to make sure it's keeping your line going in the same direction. Now I'm going to graph it. Now you notice that this is a positive slope. It's going up in this direction. My second equation here, if you look at it, not only do you have a negative y-intercept, you have a negative slope here. So that means that line has to be going in this direction. If I draw it and it's not going in that direction, something should be going off saying I did something wrong here. I'll also put a 1 right here too, because again, if you don't have anything there for a slope, plug in a 1. And you can put it over 1 too. Some people like that, so that way you can see the whole rise over run, change in y, change in x. All right, so for this one, I'm going to start -4. And now, since it's a negative slope, mind that's a negative slope, I'm going to go down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Same thing here. Now, to go in the other direction, if I go up 1, I have to go left now. Up 1, left 1. And as I do that, it's really good when you do that because sometimes you can get that solution just like I did here. Now I'm going to graph it. And just to double check, let's take a look. Is that line going down? Definitely is. It's going downwards. So I know that I used the right slope here. That's something to be mindful of. Be careful of those negative slopes. And now if I take a look here, let's see. My x value is -4. My y value never really goes up on the y-axis here. It doesn't really go up at all. So it's kind of right here on the origin. So that would just, whoops, didn't want to do that. My y value would be 0. So that would be my solution here. Those are 3 examples I noticed that people had some trouble with. So hopefully seeing my approach to the negative slopes, as well as, how I was able to, once I got a slope going on, I was able to get that line going. I was able to judge the direction. And I was able to see if these lines ultimately met. Because again, they should be meeting. In rare cases, you're not going to get them to meet. That does happen sometimes, don't get me wrong. But if you're getting a couple of those examples, then chances are there isn't going to be a solution. And by the way, here's something else I want to touch base on. If you get something that goes like this, right? And you get something else going like this, right? And it looks like, hey, they're not meeting on the graph. That doesn't mean there's not a solution. There's definitely a solution. Your graph just isn't big enough to contain it. And in this case, if you get something that looks like this, you shouldn't be getting that on this sheet. You shouldn't necessarily be getting lines that look like this and then something that looks like this. That wouldn't mean there isn't a solution. It just means you have to keep going with your graph to make them meet. And that's not going to happen here. So hopefully this helps you out a little bit with solving systems of equations and graphing them, as well as negative slopes.